evening, guys. How's everybody doing? Hopefully, you're having a great weekend. Had an amazing fight yesterday. Although I do think it was much um, closer than ever. I think Volk deserved probably that one, but I think they definitely need a rematch for that. I definitely want to see a rematch, especially when it's for the pound for pound best fighter in the world. Um, but nevertheless, personally, I'm having a great weekend. Um, as you can see, no sleep. Guys, I've been putting so much time and effort away from many things. And I'm going to say hi to all the family in just a few moments for this. And honestly, for it to sometimes get, people who come in who don't know who AB is or anybody in general, the fact that I'm covering nothing but talking about AMC and most of the times talking about trading and day trading and all that stuff. The fact that people would come in and call that AB's doing it, whatever. Something like I asked that I had a shill that came in or some random family member that comes in and says, "Oh, you're doing it for the views and whatever and all this stuff." I want any of you to already know this. I just want everybody to know. One, I already have my own businesses. AB's not doing this so that he can make life changing wealth off of YouTube or whatever. I understand. I swear to you, I understand the pain that all the community is going through because most of the community is a hodler and they are always reacting. And most of the times when they come, even with the stress of life, besides even this play, this AMC play, and they get to have their own stress from their personal lives, where they're having a bad day at work, for over 3 years now, almost 2 years, we'll say easily 2 years in this play. All the stresses and the dynamics of the economy and how life is and all that stuff, I know it can pressure so many people and it could squeeze maybe perhaps the worst out of them. But this is a call out for the community, like for the rest of the community. If you truly don't know somebody, please don't jump to the worst before you even at least give the chance for the best. Please, because I swear there are times where, for me personally, it gets to the point where I says, why don't I just do my thing, take care of me, take care of my businesses, take care of my stuff, and do all this. This like the community is in shambles within each other. And then something from within says, you know what? No, this is your calling. Continue to do what you got to do. When this thing is all over with, I swear to you guys, we could either move on, that's for sure, or we can move on to some day trading opportunities and just talk about day trading. I cannot wait. I can't stress. I can't wait until this thing is over with, so that we can move to actual fundamental trading and the way that trading works. Sorry, I just have to get that off my heart because it's a lot, and I understand there's this level of competition between content creators that actually made or created this whole division amongst the community itself. We are all investors in this thing, whether yes crowd, no crowd. It's like a family. If I don't agree with my brother or one of my siblings, that does not mean because I don't agree with them, we cancel each other out and we do a cancel culture. At the end of the day, blood never becomes water. And in this case, our investments are the same. So even if you don't like uh, such and such content creator or such and such content creator or whatever, you do not have to become you don't have to become one of the worst individuals in the world in order for you to support someone else. At the end of the day, we're all in this for what? The same thing. If there was nothing to be gained out of this, I won't be doing this. None of these other content creators will be doing this, and you wouldn't be putting your precious time to watch any of this. So we need, like as I always preach for unity and no division. The one thing that I feel like it's also adding a lot to this division is the feeling of the Sherlock chromosome, where every content creator want to play Sherlock Holmes, that they figured something out. Let's think seriously. At the end of the day, no one is creating or fabricating info or intel. We're not. I'm telling you right here, I'm not. and neither should any of those other content creators. I understand there's this phase where they want to push this narrative that, oh yeah, I created this, but no, everybody's reacting to news. They found something, maybe not a lot of people have seen it yet, and they share it with everyone. Kudos, good job. That's what it's about. That's what it means. That's what a family does. One each member makes the rest of the family a stronger unit. So I'm gonna, from my end, I'm not gonna continue to participate in this hating. I swear to you guys, you get freaking content creators that would even come out to show some hating just so that they can get on top and get some attention and keep their flame and all that stuff. We don't need Sherlock Holmes. We need one movement. Let me reiterate that. We don't need a Sherlock Holmes. We need one fucking movement. That's what we need. Whether it's the yes crowd or the no crowd and all that stuff, at the end of the day, when the vote is over with, we're still going to be same thing investors. Whoever wants to get out, no one has ever held anybody hostage to hold prior to the vote or in the past 2 years or now. And no one has told anybody to get into this play because they got into it because of their own personal conviction. And that's what I hope is the essence of all of this. So, with that being said, and out of the way, hopefully I can get this as quick as possible out of the way, and then we can move on so that everybody can go watch the Super Bowl and do what they got to do as they should on Sunday. Everybody, I want to say good afternoon to all of you again. I just wanted to get that off, I swear, off my heart, because it really gives me problems sleeping at night. Brother Frankie Muhammad, alaikum salam, brother. How are you? Keep doing what you're doing. This is Nana Ape. How are you? Veronica Chase. Adrian. Hey, what's up, brother? Let's see. Miss Chase, how are you? Always a lovely person to be around. Gorilla Grot. Congrats to you and your loved one. Once again. Bullish like. Hey, what's up, brother? Mr. Skeptical. How are we doing? And of course, I have to save, I don't want to say no, Captain No Likey. How are you doing? Now I'm going to save the best for last. Babe Jam Bams, how are you doing? Thank you for being my support as always throughout this whole thing, and being one of the kindest individuals that this earth has to offer, this life has to offer. But guys, I caught up with you before I start going downhill from here. So I understand that I called this stream AMC State of the Union. And the reason why, the first message I already delivered in the beginning. The second one, Luna, you're still around. They're looking for you. The second thing that I want to address is, how are we going to move forward together as a movement? And I'm going to use everybody in the comment section and all that, like as a unit, as a family. Everybody's going to have their thing to say, and it's okay. It's not going to be taken as a shill or any of that stuff. PV, how are you, brother? And we're not going to go into long debates on a Sunday, but I'm going to show you guys a few things that are shown as far as the short-term outlook and how things could shake out, and we need to come up with some sort of decision together. Trust me, guys, no one is a Sherlock Holmes. None of these content creators or anybody else in general can know something in advance unless it's an insider trading info from someone. Other than that, it's all tinfoil hats. And at the end of the day, tinfoil hats could be something great, but more importantly, could also be a devastating thing, especially over the course of time. When a group of people have been screwed over for over 2 years, and they're not just screwed over on just a principle base. No, they're being screwed over on their monetary funds, like on their investment, on their money, in the most economical, crucial times of this era. That makes it even much worse. So when tinfoil hats don't pan out, or when we get individuals or people who come out and they just got their dose of hopium and now they want to push it off and pass it on to the rest of the community, it's easy, it's contagious, but the ramifications of it is extremely dangerous, because it could cause so many people to falter along the lines, because it's just like a war. we're charging. We're charging. The war is not, it's just like we're going through many battles, but eventually we have to win the war. If we don't win the war, we lose it. And throughout all these battles. And the problem is when somebody leaves their post and charges ahead, next thing you know, creates division amongst the community. And now we got a problem that could cost us the whole entire war. And I'm not going to be the individual that play within that thing. I preach, and hopefully I'm preaching this to the other content creators out there in their communities, that ultimately not every channel has its own community. It's all at the end of the day invested in AMC, right? And none of this is financial advice. Nobody's going to give financial advice. We understand nobody wants to screw over the other. But at the end of the day, don't screw the rest of the community because you have an overall personal interest, or you got carried away, you got dosed that little dosage of opium, and now you want to go ahead and take it out. And it infected so many individuals in the community. And next thing you know, when it doesn't pan out, the ramifications of it are extremely, extremely deadly. Let me start with this. First, I'm going to move AB down the screen because that's it. He got to speak. AB was a little late, sorry guys, because of the router. I pulled up Biden on the State of the Union. No pun intended. I'm not taking any digs. Whatever party you are, this is not me, AB, taking a dig at anybody's. So first dose of opium that is going on out there. I'm going to take you guys through exactly how this is very, very dangerous for the community. We got all this institutional investor as you look on Fintel. This is important, but in the same time, I'm going to show you two sides where you have to balance the way you think about this. You can't just take it for face value. And I've seen some content creators make that dangerous mistake, maybe because it's the lack of trading experience or anything, but you got to remember, you can't take any of these things for face value, and I'll show you why. Either way, we see here the transactions that all these companies, have made throughout AMC in general. Here's the one thing that is catching fire within the community right now, which is this Bank of America acquisitions. You got Bank of America, who added about, I think 29,000 extra shares to their position. That made them now 139,000 shares total. I think they had 120 before that, prior. And then they also got the calls and the puts. And here's the thing. Yes, they did get 2,369,600 calls, and they did get 229,300 puts. But here's the problem. Many content creators are making the mistake of taking that for face value and thinking that that's it. We're done. There you go. Bank of America is hedging their position with this. While there is a chance for that, you got to remember, these entities know that there's a lot of average investors or newbie investors that will jump into Fintel and they want to copy smart money moves, and therefore they know that, like, they basically know that that's going to happen. And if that's the case, nobody even ever has to think about trading, because all they got to do is just copy smart money moves. Instead, you go here and look at this. This is how you don't take stuff for face value. So the manager of a fund that obviously has the reason why somebody would be ordered to make a 13F filing is because of their fund has over 100 million in assets. And therefore, they will be required to file their 13F. So obviously, Bank of America has a lot more than that. So therefore, they filed that form. But the manager must file a 13F report within the commission within 45 days after the end of the calendar year, and each of the first 3 calendar quarters of the subsequent calendar year, which means this, ladies and gentlemen, does not have to be, it happened within this quarter, but is between December 31st, and they have basically, but from the date of this, on the 10th, they had it 5 extra days, so they could have done it 5 days from now, by let's say next Friday. No, sorry, today is the 12th. So they had 3 extra days from even today that they could still file this 13F filing. So the thing is that I'm trying to get to everybody is that this doesn't necessarily mean that they're still holding on to these 2 million. And I'll take it a step further for you. These 2 million right there, these 2 million calls, do you know how much they add up to in dollar amount? Yes, Bank of America, we read this correctly right here. Bank of America made a $9.6 billion investment in calls on AMC. If this isn't the biggest insider trading of all insider trading, and I will lead you to why I think this is insider trading, then I don't know what is, brothers and sisters. Because when you have this, like this doesn't add up right here. When you have somebody who has this magnitude, and we know they're one of the biggest shorters of AMC, big time, if not the biggest. They have 139,000 shares. Smart money always operates based on leverage. They don't take positions and just say, let's see where this goes. Okay? You have to know how smart money thinks in order to understand what the hell is the steps and what the hell are they doing. So smart money doesn't have 139,000 shares. Normally, if I was Bank of America and there's no insider trading or no crazy malpractice, if I had 139,000 shares, I will go in with puts and I will also go in with calls, but the amount will not be this 2.3 million calls, 229,000 puts, and then 139,000 shares. This right here, the 2.3 million calls, that means it's like the most bullish. I mean, that's equivalent to $9.6 billion. Any investor will tell you, any broker investor will tell you, any smart money investor will tell you that your options in your portfolio should not even go over 20% in order for your portfolio not to be considered a dangerous portfolio or a very risky portfolio. These guys defied all those rules. They defied all those rules right here. You want to tell me that somebody of that magnitude, they just went in and put $9.6 billion on just calls and $1 billion on puts and a few $1 million on shares? It's always the opposite. Their biggest in smart money, their biggest positions most of the times are in shares, and then they leverage their position in shares by getting some calls that are equivalent, because each call is equivalent to 100 shares. So if I had 100 and let's say like in here 40,000 shares, and you do the little math here, because sorry, this is right on top of my head, then I would be looking at basically the equivalence to those shares, 140,000 roughly shares, is equivalent to 1,400 option calls. So what they do so that they can obviously still be lucrative and still watch out and leverage their position in case they want to add more, what they would be doing in this case is they would be getting probably anywhere around 400 calls and 200 puts. And that means if the stock falls, they're obviously they have 200 puts that leverage their position to make sure that they don't get screwed up on their on their stock position. And then the long on the calls, eventually when there's a reverse, they could deal with that, or they can exercise these calls. But you will never see where something like this happened, where they got 2.3 million calls, 900,000 puts, and then only 139,000 shares. That means somebody had a tip. This is how I see it. And again, this is not financial advice, guys, but that's just how it works in the world and trading. That means somebody knew something. In order for them to go put $9.6 billion on something, especially as shaky as the smart money says AMC is, you must have known something. And this leads us to the next point of why you shouldn't always necessarily take this for face value. Because when this thing took place, take you down here, as you can see, from it took effective date from December 31st, 2022, and the filing date was the 210. This could have, they basically could have taken this position any given moment from here to here. And within the next report, they could file, which has to be, again, as we said here, 45 days after the end of the calendar year and each of the first 3 calendar quarters. So on the next report, you could possibly see that all of these things, the 2.7, I'm sorry, 2.6 million calls, and then the 2.3 million calls and the 200 something puts, 1,000 puts, and all these shares, all that could be updated. Which takes us to, what did we just go through? What did we just go through? We'll go and look at this right here. This is basically Webull. On the chart, we saw that we went through a whole move to the upside just about a week ago when we topped at 7.3. And now, obviously, we're back down to 4. When you think of this, brothers and sisters, or ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to get over to you is that 13F filing could have been possibly all those calls that you've seen, that $9.6 billion in calls, excuse me, could have been all taken care of over here. And now these puts are printing for them down here. No big smart money, big investment group like literally does that, where they have much less shares and billions of dollars in calls. It does not work like that. Like, that's what they would call dumb money moves. And since a smart money company would do something like this, an entity like Bank of America, somebody told somebody something. It has to be. There's no way that's not the case. And it could also be the fact that they still didn't exercise any of this, but that would mean that right now they're getting toppled on their $9.6 billion call investment by itself. We also were able to find out through looking at some of these transactions, that their dollar cost average, I was doing it like at 6 o'clock in the morning this morning, and I'm totally forgotten. You see the black eyes that I have, the bags and everything. I was able to see that their dollar average on shares for these 139,000 is just above 5. It's where did I calculate it? You can see it right here. I'll show you. I will show you right here. So if you read along with this, and this is all simple stuff, guys. If you take just a few moments to read some of this stuff, then you would know how to temper your expectations and not get this dose of hype and then hopiism, and then start and hopium, and then go and dump it out on Twitter and whatever, like, hey, they're doing this, they're leveraging their positions, and then start taking people, we're to the moon and all this stuff. And when nothing happens the following week, then everybody says, oh yeah, we don't know how to explain this. We thought that they were, and they didn't. That means they're corrupt, something they're doing wrong. No, it's just the lack of understanding, or taking the time to even understand things. And I hate this about some of the factors that we have, or some of the places that we have in this community, and we need to fix all that stuff. So Bank of America has filed a 13F filing disclosing ownership of 139,260 shares of AMC Holdings, with a total holding valued at 566,789,000. And they made a mistake here. When I was reading this over and over, I was like 566 million for 139,000 shares. If you do the math on that, that means that each share is 4,000. Oh my God, AB just said 4,000 a share. Watch, any other content creator now will come out and start pumping that Bank of America paid 4,000 a share. And it's not. This is a Fintel typo, and I guarantee you right here, because it's all fixed within the body right down here. So anyways, as of December 31st of 2022, Bank of America filed the previous 13F filing on the November 14th of 2022, disclosing only 114,293 shares. So basically, we have about a 21%, as you can see here, that Bank of America worth of shares that they added onto their position. But again, for somebody of that magnitude, it's very, very minuscule, the position that they got compared to, you see how Vanguard or BlackRock, what they have, it's monstrous. Anyways, when you do the division right here, value of 71,104% during the quarter. Bank of America also added these shares right there. So when you divide the 566 plus 71,000, and then you divide it by the share amount right there, and then you will get your total dollar amount, which is, like I said, it's going to be somewhere around above the $5 range. That's what their dollar average cost on AMC per share, to my best of my abilities or my knowledge, and because we can see it here. But you want to tell me that somebody pays under like they have a position that is technically under $1 million in shares, but they invest $9.6 billion in calls? How are you that bullish on the calls, but you're not bullish on the shares? It just doesn't happen. That's why I'm telling you guys, all of this is BS insider trading. It just has to be. There's no other way around it. And now we're going to have to be basically moving on from that subject, because we got many things that I want to, few more things just to cover besides this. And by the way, just so you guys would know, here's a chilling fact that each single one of you should know. Did you know, and I don't know if any other content creators have told you this or not, again, but you deserve to know this. You have to know this. These 13F filings, did you, what if I told you that people, like the SEC requires these companies to do these filings, but actually the SEC itself says that you cannot rely on those reports, on these reports, because nobody actually at the SEC goes through to funnel through these filings and confirm with the companies to make sure that what they filed is actually true. What if I told you that? How would that make you feel? If you don't like it, or if you think it's not true, go double check and fact check me on that. It's so magnificent, like it's so mind-boggling, the fact that at this state, like we're talking about, we're the United motherfucking States of America. And again, you guys know I don't like to swear at any time, and I feel like I've been swearing enough in this whole chat today. They force these entities to go ahead and file these, but in the same time, nobody is going from the police department. It's like kind of telling the police is policing these companies and telling them, hey, you must report this so we know what's going on with you every quarter. And then these thieves would report this stuff, and they will put whatever, similar to the Bernie Madoff situation, where he was submitting things that he had his own accountant fabricate and fix. And then when he submitted, the SEC were like, okay, we take it for we take your word for it. Like we live in Yellowstone, or in the show Yellowstone, with livestock agents and shit. Like, I'll take your word for it. It's amazing how even these things that we are taking for face value, a lot of people are taking for face value, are not even authenticated within the SEC with these companies to make sure that these transactions pan out. Wow. Now, I want to bring up some first. Let me look at the live stream and see what is being said before we go and look at the chart to see what is the short-term outlook. What does ABC? What am I preparing you for this upcoming week or perhaps the next upcoming 2 weeks? And then after that, we will look at some of the things that are very, 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 very like as a community we have to decide on. We have to decide on, and we have to take ego out of the whole equation, family. We just have to take ego out of the whole equation. Nobody can be right, and nobody can be just wrong at all times or right at all times. If it is what it is, it is what it is. We gotta move forward with all this. At the end of the day, as a community, we gotta move forward together. But if each one at the end of that day, each one has to make their own financial investment decision on their own situation, because everybody has different dynamics. Excuse me. So I'm gonna read some of the chat before we move to the meat and bones of this, what I feel like is this thing, because this is gonna be important for this upcoming week. And sorry if you see many screens. I just thought that that's the display capture for the stream. So now you get to see many ABs. If you couldn't like just one, now you got many more. CEO of GNS reached out to Adam Aaron with no response from the CEO, who really care for his investors. So he think that there isn't any manipulation going on with AMC shares. Must be fooled to believe that. See, here's the thing, PV, and this is for everybody in the stream, okay? The family. I'm not gonna sit here and say Adam Aaron is a piece of shit and he's effing us and all that stuff. In the same time, I'm not gonna waste my time sitting here saying he is the best, he's the silverback and all that. At the end of the day, this is a money game. And when it comes to money and finances, all the BS and all this biased opinions on matters go straight out the window. If that doesn't pan out or make any sense to you, that means you're not truly an investor. So I can see why on this situation with GNS reaching out to Adam Aaron, and we had Wes Christian reach out to Adam Aaron in the past. Here's the thing I want everybody to know. I understand we want action. We're frustrated and all that stuff. And I understand that inaction is also not a solution. Just sitting there waiting for them like a pile of sheep waiting for the wolf to just come in and take the next one out. I feel you and I understand. Let's weigh things out as a community. And you must know both sides. If we are to go into litigation, I just want you guys to know that when court systems, and all of you know this, but somehow it's leaving the back of your brain or your thoughts. For some people, not all. If we go into litigation format, then you're talking about possibly yanking the stock off the stock market and all our investments will be frozen. And in the same time, until something comes out of it, and we would have years in court. You think the other side doesn't have so many lawyers to put us through all the hoops and loops that they did with the market and do the same thing with the courts? I understand we want justice, but it doesn't come overnight. That means you're officially, if we go into that litigation form, that means we will be going in possibly for years before we even get some sort of settlement even. And many people might not even like that. Here's another thing. Who benefits from litigation and all that stuff? I'll tell you this. One, lawyers are the main beneficiary to that situation. Wes Christian, he could be a great guy. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but it's his conflict of interest here for him. He gets a case, a big case like this that would pay him handsomely to be representing something like this, and he wouldn't even care how many years it'd take. After it's all said and done, it could take 4 years, 3 years, and then he could come down with a settlement at the end and says, yeah, we fixed the financial markets, people. We did it. How was that? Like, who's the main loser here? It's us, the investors. We would be going literally in years of litigation to get that fixed. That's one side of the equation. Now, if we don't go through litigation and Adam Aaron doesn't go through this and answering the GNS CEO and joining him, we're also still dealing with this market dynamics that are so lopsided. I mean, for Christ's sake, we got what's his name? Freaking Gary Gensler is under the heat right now for his role in FTX. It's happening as we speak, ladies and gentlemen. So since we've, like, I feel like at this point, and this is my personal opinion, and maybe people can put in as a community, we can move forward with this and have some sort of a major thing. I don't want my stock to be yanked off the market, to be put on hold until litigation has figured its way out. But I would definitely love the market itself to be fixed from the law's perspective. That could take years until they fix it from all the regulations, but do not put it just as a case where it's just AMC, some other meme stocks like GNS and MMTLP, and we've seen what happened with that. Again, justice does not come overnight. It will take time if we go down that route. Personally, for me, I would rather go through this BS and perhaps have my window to have either a MOAS based on this vote coming up or a major run-up or multiple run-ups, then to wait an extra 3-4 years perhaps, or even longer, or even a little bit less, but definitely in the years, to get justice. And who cares? Who knows? We've seen how they do in the DOJ. They're giving people 75% discount to report themselves when they did wrong. So in other words, if we were to reach after 2-3 years of litigation some sort of like if we reach some sort of settlement, will the price be what exactly we need or what everybody would like? It's going to be very, very, very scary. So therefore, for me, I would rather, and this is just weighing out both sides, I would rather deal with this crap that we're in, that we've been dealing with, and have the possibility or the chance that I have in our MOAS or a magnitude of multiple run-ups because of this upcoming vote, than to have to deal with being off and not watching the stock market events anymore and letting these bloodsuckers, these hedge funds and shorts, put AMC on the back heater, on the back burner, and then do all the other shady shit on the other side. You see what I'm saying, guys? And again, that's just my answer on the thing. Adrian, multiple ABs, yeah, right? Hoping for some sort of last-ditch reprieve, opportunity to exit this madness before the reverse split after faithfully holding for 2 years. Should have a few days back during the upswing. And here's the thing, Mr. Skeptical. I think that the community got to always remember that the amount of corruption that happened on this stock has never been seen before. So even the idea of run-ups, I know people can always relate to things based on their history and what they've relatively seen. Have you seen overstock squeeze, guys? I understand the dynamics are a little different, but it's hard for many people to imagine AMC in the 3-digit or the 4-digit range because they've never seen it there. And that's the thing that I want to bring to everyone. That the amount of corruption on this thing, none of us knows. How many, and all of it can be figured out if we know how much or how many illegal synthetics or naked shorts are in the background. If we know that number, which is the number one thing that the other side will never allow to come out. Is secured in even somewhere even more secure than Fort Knox. So if we know that number, we can know what we have to hold to. But since we don't know those numbers, everything is going to be speculation. But we do know one thing. The amount of corruption that happened on it is unmatched. Nothing has been done like this before. Not no overstock, not no nickel squeeze, none of that stuff has ever seen anything like this before. So we need to reevaluate how we look at what run-ups are. Because at the end of the day, it's going to lead you back to what? Bracketology talk. What is the right number? No one is going to know. No one is going to tell you where's the top or whatever. Anybody that comes and tells you we're going to go to this number and all this stuff, It's so impossible, and I disapprove with that theory 100,000%, and I'll tell you why. Because how do anybody gauge the sentiment of people's holding? How do you know when, for example, AB would sell at what price, and so forth for the other four, perhaps 10 million investors in AMC? How do you gauge the crowd sentiment? You can't. Everybody's different. And therefore, this whole bracketology talk is crazy. And the correct way to approach this is from a perspective of you. How do you look out for yourself? Don't worry about the collective. Everybody can say, we are all holding for, hypothetically speaking here, we are all holding to 10,000 a share. But how do you know that each one of those people that said that are actually holding to 10,000 a share? You will never know. So the only best way to approach this whole thing is without expecting bracketology from anyone, but what is your situation in your positions, in your investment, in your own personal life? What is it that you need? And based on those needs, lay out your blueprint. I'm going to collect profits here. I'm going to do this here. I'm going to hold until hopefully it gets to here. Many people are more risk tolerant than many others. Only you can know truly the answer to what you hold to and how you exit. Everything comes down to your personal situation, and then ultimately, based on that, you draw a blueprint on your exit strategy. And based on that, you will always be 100% always satisfied, at least to the best of your ability, based on whatever the stock does. But if you go in with a blueprint of idea that I'm going to hold until at least 400, for example, hypothetically speaking here again, I'm going to hold until 400 at least. How do you know that it's going to get to that? Well, because there's a lot of naked shorts in the background. How do you know exactly it's going to get to that? You don't. It's only going to be hopium channels that are going to be pumping that kind of stuff out. How do you know it's going to get to 100% to 1,000 or 2,000 a share? How do you know any of that stuff? You can't. People can speculate, but speculation is the root or the number one component for the biggest disasters. And at the end of the day, you always want to play it safe. This is a money game, not no movement of friendship. We all hold, you hold, I hold, we all do the kumbaya. You're going to hold until the number is right. If nobody sells, when is anybody going to sell? The best place to sell is always going to be to each single person the best place that they laid out for themselves based on their own situation and portfolio that they're holding. Let me see. Nana Ape, great advice right there. Let's see how GNS pans out first. 100,000%. Thank you, James. 400, I'll be a millionaire? Yeah. Many people would be. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any questions before I go into the chart to tell you what we have next week coming up or the week after. I want to make sure, I swear to you guys, I swear, like this is not no trust me bro thing. The reason why I'm telling you all this stuff the way that I'm telling you is because I truly want everybody, if they can't make life-changing wealth, I don't want them to make life-changing disaster situations for them and for their families. The whole motto of this is either to change your life for the best or it doesn't change at all, or it gets a little bit better. But for the worst, that's never part of the equation. That's not trading anymore. And I think my, all right, unless I'm not getting many comments, I think I'm going to move on with this. We have people on there. If you guys have any questions or anything, put them in the comment section now so that I could go ahead and carry on with the rest of this. People need to stop knocking hopium. We need hope. Depression is real. Suicidal is real. You have to have some kind of optimism even in the worst of times. John Juan, I'm not saying be depressed about this. I'm saying how, and I said it multiple times throughout this. So please, guys, don't do this where it's kind of like taking things out of context. I said it a multiple amount of times that how do you gauge and level your level of hopium? Being only hopium is dangerous, and that's unresponsible. Being very depressing, as you're saying, John, here, is obviously not balanced, and that's wrong because then you would lose your motivation into and the conviction into the play, and that could make you or influence you to make a decision that makes it worse for your investment. I said it multiple times. How do you tame and how do you balance both? It's crucially important. It's important to have a balance. One unbalance or imbalance is not a prosperous plan for the future. With all the respect, John. So no more questions in here, so I'll move on to a few things. Before I jump to the charts, family, I want to bring up some points. Let's talk a little bit about the upcoming vote, okay? Many people are saying it's already in the bag. Many people says yes. Many people saying F no. And thank you, John Juan. Yeah, much love, brother. I'm pretty sure you probably just walked in to hear. You didn't hear when I said the balance earlier, but all good. Now we're clear, brother. At the end of the day, what's gonna happen is gonna happen. I want to remind everybody once again: we're one family, one community. Either side does not hold; both sides lose. You could take that as a fact. If you don't, fact check me afterwards. That's number one. Two, the conviction that you had in this play from prior, before this whole thing started. I want you to remember that because this thing has never been done, no amount of corruption have been done to a single stock or play ever in history of mankind on a stock market like this. It forms this thing when it rips, and if it goes to the potentials as people are saying, I'm holding to crazy astronomical numbers and all that stuff. While it's possible, and I always say this, it is possible, very possible. The only issue with that is it forms a big government or national security problem. I broke in one of the lives in the past to you numerically how billions of shares being held to, or millions of shorts that has to be covered, while millions of people are holding billions amounts of shares. That's counting in the synthetics and all that stuff to astronomical numbers, would mean trillions of dollars. And when you look back to just measure the magnitude of that sentence, you got the in 2020 the CARES Act for the problem that we had for the COVID. With that, we had only about what, like 1.3. I can't remember the numbers. I've done a live in the past, like 8 months ago about it, but it was like 1.3, almost barely $2 trillion that took care of the entire government and the country. For years too, not just instantly, just for that month. And when you want to tell me that, just to bring up the scope of reality to everybody, when you want to say that one play will be worth trillions of dollars, that means you're not putting into the fact of what's happening with GNS and what's their payout. GME and what's their payout. Put all this elitist talk and bullshit out of the window. In AB's channel, in AB's world, it's all realistic. This is a trading market. It's not. There's no bias here. If it makes money, it makes money. If it doesn't make money, then it is what it is. It doesn't make money. I don't care about if I like the color of it or I like the CEO of it. Does it make money? That's what we're here for. If I wanted my liking and stuff, I would just stick to football and support my favorite team. And that's it. So That's not putting into account GME's run up. That's not putting into fact the rest of the market. All those 65 billion plus shares or stocks that the market maker have sold, but yet to purchase. They've delivered, but yet to purchase them. All those are not logically all just AMC guys. So based on that knowledge or that thought right there, of course we form a national security threat. And of course, do I believe that we are being effed over by more than just the short forces? We're being effed over by many forces. Hell yeah, we are. We're being screwed over by the government. We're being screwed over by, and I'm not saying this as then like, hey, let's uprise and do a revolution and whatever, but they do have to take effect. And that's why we seen in January of 2021, the NSCC made that order for that employee that took the buy button out, that sent that order out. They were over leveraged and they had paid out. The NSCC that is speaking, they paid out more money than they had themselves or were able to pay. So since then, we've been in this movement where it's like we have no voice and we can't be, and it feels like almost the government and the SEC is always doing stuff to benefit the other side, which is unfortunate, right? But that doesn't mean our play is over. That means that we're in the process of figuring out, or the other side is in the process of figuring out, and we're coming to an end of it, I personally think, soon hereby. We're in the process of figuring out where is the sweet spot for us and for them. A few things I want to bring up about this stuff. What if I told you that, and not a lot of people are paying attention to some of these things, just small little details. Everybody knows the CFO of AMC, right? Sean D. Goodman. Some channels laminate this guy's nuts and in love with him and all that stuff. This guy's been a day trader with AMC like nonstop, like no other, and no one calls him a paper hand or none of that stuff. I understand that Adam Aaron said that he sold shares in 2021, but he had to diverse his investments. But one thing you need to understand is a master speech maker always brings out the good points. It's not going to bring out obviously the bad points. The one thing is, why has he never talked about what they're doing in the board? He said that he made a plan, remember, a year and a half ago, he said that he made a plan with the board so that they can start reflecting their transactions of what they're doing based on their holdings, that they will start holding shares. Well, all of them said F you, based technically to Adam Aaron, because they all are selling. So what if I told you that 4 days prior to the whole 8K filing that happened between Antara and AMC about the loosening of the restrictions, that Mr. CFO, his entire APE position, and only had left what, like about 4,000 or 1,400 shares. I would say about 4,000 shares, but he sold majority. I think he had over 80,000 shares, and he sold entirely all his position just 4 days prior to the 8K filing. Did he possibly know that they were going to do this loosening restriction? I'll tell you why that's very possible. Because when did the 8K filing go out? February 9th. When was the record date due for voting on shares? February 8th, a day after February 8th. So technically, those shares that Antara sold and collected massive profits on because they bought them for 66 cents, they still have voting rights for them. And that's why that 8K filing was filed a day after the record date. Very sneaky shit. It's very sneaky and snaky shit, in my humble opinion. I don't know. You guys can put your comments in the chat and tell me how you feel about that. But that's very sneaky, because all that correlates with the other two. If the CFO sold 4 days prior to the 8K filing, entirely all his APE position, except of about 4,000 shares of APE, and The 8K filing on the restrictions is filed a day after the record date. You want to tell me that they are smooth brains in there, the board and the silverback, that is, to see and do all this, but they didn't have the simple, slightest of idea to sell ape when it was at 10. So they figured out the unobvious, but they couldn't figure out the very obvious. They couldn't sell ape at 8. They couldn't sell ape at 7. They didn't see that coming, but they were able to mastermind these moves. It's pretty interesting of how these things operate, family, and it's in the same time very sickening when you see some of these things. Now, ultimately, before I jump into the charts here, I just want to say that whether yes or no, AB is going to hold his position because he knows, this is my personal opinion. Everybody else is welcome to their own. I'm going to hold no matter what, but the yes or the no will definitely alter what does holding mean for AB. That's how we'll conclude the idea on that vote, because at the end of the day, I don't want this back and forth thing. Nothing's going to come of it between communities and all that stuff. So no, I know what I have to do with my position and how I'm going to handle it. Yes, I also know what I'm going to do with my position, and I know how I'm going to handle it. Now, on the short term, let's jump to this. I want you guys to see how a bunch of things, indicators popped up specifically based on the 9th and the 10th of this week, which was Thursday and Friday. Right when that 8K filing happened, do you remember we were at this? And when this 8K filing thing came out, it came out right here. Maybe the dynamics of it started happening here on the 6th or the 7th, but on the 8th, and then, sorry, on the 9th, that's when it was filed, and it went through effect then. And since then, we've seen this. What does that show on the charts? Here's what it shows on the charts. We see that we got one. This is the worst one that for out of all the bearish outlook on the near future, at least within the next week to 2 weeks. I feel like we're going to be hemorrhaged and screwed over on the price action, but that creates an opportunity for major buying opportunities, averaging down, or perhaps waiting until the price gets to that channel and then eventually having that reversal. Because of where we at, I want to tell people some good things here. I want you to look over here. This was June of 2021. Oh, sorry, no. I was like, that doesn't look like the flag I know. This was June 2021, guys. You see how all of that, as I told you before, the bull flag and all that theory and everything. So either way, we've been moving down these channels, and if I even make this a little tinier and go back in time, we are technically right around the same support level, except this right there. The bottom could technically be somewhere around the low $3. Don't be surprised. I want to prepare everybody for what's coming so that you're not phased and you don't think that we're screwed on the play and all that. And at the same time, I'm not giving financial advice, guys, but I'm just going to give you my perspective on things. Don't be surprised if they bring us to the low threes, perhaps even the upper twos. Don't be surprised within the next 2 weeks. I will be looking forward, if that exactly happens as I suspect, to load up like an MF. Why? Because that is when we will completely close out any channel. Look at this. Look at this. I'm going to show you guys how this whole thing has been playing out. Look at June, the top, the all-time high. that we had. Since then, look at this. The next run up did not go over the all-time high right there. Then we move over about 2-3 months later, another run up. It did not even exceed the run up that preceded it. Not the all-time high. The all-time high never was reached again. But every run up that we had has always been less. Remember when I told you to fact check me? And when this happens, look right here. Not that I want to be right, guys. I swear I'm doing this for the rest of the community's best interest and my own, of course. But I told you right here, I need to see the channels. You remember this. If you're a follower of this channel, and I know they attack my channel a lot, like the bots, the shadow banning and everything, because they don't want this thing to keep continuing getting out there. I told everybody back here, in the beginning to mid-January, when all the hopium was going out in full force, before we reached 733, which was the top of this last wave that we had, I told everyone we needed to break first, have the 8 and break the $12 range in order for us, see right there, that's the 8, which confirms right there higher than the previous run-up. So if this run-up right here, this last one where we were at, ran up above this line, this white line right here where this blue dot is, then at that point I was telling everybody, and go back through my videos and fact check it, then that's when I will be waving, you guys remember my words, my green flag saying I'm all on board. Now I'm more bullish than on the verge of both, you know, just balanced out on the level plane. No, I will be more on the bullish side. You can balance out, you can imbalance the scale now in AB's world. And I was saying that back here. You guys can please put it, if you're a follower of this channel, please put it in the comment section. Don't let my word, for the people that are not, that have not been here, who don't know AB real well, don't let my word speak for itself. Please speak for me. Call me out if I lied. Please call me out. I called it back here and I said, if this thing does not go, and I called it back here and I called it back here and I called it back here. And it keeps getting overlooked. And this can easily make people not get frustrated. Once you see this and understand it, then you would know how you go about your trading and how to tame and balance out your expectations, whether they're hopium or not. From day one, we got into this play for what? To hold and for life-changing wealth. We didn't get into this for that one run-up. We would have loved it to be all concluded and over with within the first week or two or the first month. But here we go, 2.5 years later. I've been here since September of 2020, guys. In September, it will be 3 years. I know what it feels like to sit on the sideline. I know what it feels like to be molested via stock. I know what it feels like to be dealt wrong and be treated wrong. And in the same time, I had to learn to see their transactions and how they're operating to it. So therefore, here, June, high. The next run up we had here in 2021 in September, August to September. We had another run up. You see from the bottom down here, we had another run up, but it did not exceed the all-time high, which means we went back down, and then right there we had another run up back in November of 2021. And guess what? It did not even go higher than the one in September of 2021. Leave the all-time high alone because nothing since then have went above it. Then look at this. Patterns do make sense. Brothers and sisters, patterns do make sense. That's what they're there for. This run up right here we had in March of 2022 did not exceed the one that was back in November of 2021. You see how they're all descending? Look, this one right here. I remember when a lot of people came out and said, oh, cup and handle, look right there. Cup, handle. Well, that's true, but you got to look at the better pattern here that we've been making for the entire past 2 years. Which another run up here in August of 2022, guess what? You guessed it right. It did not exceed the run in March of 2022. It was lesser. It reached, and I remember back then when they capped us, like it was such a dirty move that they did to us. They stopped us over the 30. You guys remember that day. They stopped us over the 30 and they halted us, like they dropped us, then they halted us on the way down after they dropped us underneath $32. I remember we peaked over 30 and we they peaked, brought us right back down so that we do not exceed this level. That's what the pattern shows me. Look at this next run that we almost most recently had back in December of 2022. Look at it, small, not that much. It did not go higher than August 16th or August of 2022. So constantly it's been descending, descending, descending. Some people got it right. Some content creators that I've watched recently, they got it right. They got the model. They got the right model of the descending wedge. You guys probably know who I'm talking about. And I will say, I'll send out my support and say, you had it right. You just spoke too soon. Look at that channel down there. That's what he was speaking to. It's very relevant to the channel back here. Right there. And then we had this and that. What does that show? He's not wrong. He just came out early. Now, I was telling everybody, if this thing right here on this most updated, on February 7th run, if this thing does not peak over the $8 range, then this thing is gonna dump right back down. And what are we experiencing right now? We're at $4.90. You see how this next run went down? Now, let me tell you this. Is that necessarily a bad thing? Well, the only thing that's bad about it is the fact we didn't have our run yet. But the only thing that is good about it too is that the channel that we're running in, look at this. Over here, it was so much easier for them to bring us down and let us pump much higher levels. And then down here, same thing. It was easier for them to bring us down and pump us up. But somewhere between this and this wave, between these levels, look at where we at now. The rips are getting much smaller and the drops are also equivalent to it. What is the bad thing about this channel right here? When we had some content creators speak a little too soon on this channel going up, they did not put in effect that, of course, the company was going to file an 8K filing, and many entities like Bank of America was going to come out and do a crazy $9.6 billion worth of freaking calls that most likely up here were sold. And then they had about $1 billion worth of puts that printed on the way down. They only had 139,000 shares. Insider trading all over it. Again, my experience in the market for the years, I'm telling you, this shit is not something that smart money does. You don't get only 139,000 shares. I just wish that you guys can understand how ridiculous this sounds. You don't just get, as a smart money, 139,000 shares, but pay $9.6 billion worth of calls. Their calls and their options were way astronomically higher than their original share position. That does not happen in smart world. It does not happen like this. Unless obviously there's some sort of tips happening on the down low that somebody knew something, aka insider trading, that we don't know. Now, what we have here, guys, is a megatop. What is a megatop? A megatop forms when you have multiple higher highs and lower lows. So it starts with 2, 1. We started right over here. You see that symmetrical looking opposite of a symmetrical triangle? We had one high right there, then dropped lower than that low. And then we had a higher high. You see that right there, where we peaked on the 7th of February, just this last week. And then the drop, this is where it was completed. The next low and the final low of that formation that created the megatop basically exceeded or descended lower than the previous low, which means this is the channel that we're going to be in for this next week or two, perhaps just a little bit more, but I would say somewhere between the next week or two. Very, very, very crazy how that lines up with what's coming up, right? In that time frame. So we got this. So this is why I'm telling everybody from right now, do not be afraid. Don't be scared. Don't be worried if you see us trading in the lower 3, perhaps the upper $2 range, or if they bring us up into the 3s in general. And this is not a shilling thing. I'm preparing you. or if it happens right there as I see, that you don't get like, what is this? What is happening? Where's the theorists? Where's the hopium? Where's all that? No, I'm preparing you for all of this. And that way you would know that, hey, okay, now this is a perfect average down operation or position, or this is a great, great, great way to know when things are going to pan out. After we break out of this, look at this, guys. Look how beautiful this whole thing is. Even in the worst of times, beauty definitely does not cease to exist. Look how they made us, we ripped here, but we had to respect that $8 resistance level. Look how they brought us back down from the 733, I believe, and they brought us down. So which means we didn't exceed the previous wave or the previous pattern, as we see here clearly on this chart. Excuse me, I'm talking a lot and it's getting to my throat. And as we see here, it's hard for them to bring us down any lower to where we at already, which means the rips and the dips that we're going to have are going to be very, very close. And once we break out of this channel, which I don't see taking long, once we break out of this channel, you're going to see overall what I told you about 6 months ago. Go back into my lives, go back into my videos. Please look what I said about 6-7 months ago about my blue flag formation and the bull flag theory, and how when we break out of that channel, how will we break out? We will break out in such a way that definitely, or most of the times always, breaks out of the all-time high, which is above $74. This is no financial advice. This is AB's play out on this. And again, I want the family to fact check me. All those times, all those throughout all these months, I called it here. I called it here, what was going to happen. I called it here, and I said what was going to happen if we don't break certain level. And I called it most recently right here. And we didn't break them. And guess what happened? Exactly what I've told you back there. Not to be so infatuated with being right. I am just preparing the people for how, like preparing them for what's to come. And there's nothing wrong with that. The best feeling is when you expect something to come. The worst feeling is when you get punched, walk into something that you don't see coming. Especially like here, especially like here, especially like here, especially like here, especially like here. All those times where everybody thought that's it, it's the time for the rip. You were getting too excited too soon. I'm not saying don't get excited. I said you got too excited too soon. And the ramifications of that, when that doesn't pan out, is what? Misery amongst the community. And that's the number one thing I don't want to happen amongst our ranks. And we can easily solve this. I'm showing you that. I'm proving that to you. Not just on a talk level, but even on a technical level. And the simplest forms of fashion. So once we break out of this channels, because there's nowhere else they could take us up. Okay, next time we rip. Let's say they keep us within this wedge until after the vote or before the vote. I don't want to get caught up into the talk of run-ups before, or I'm going to get out before. That's not in my thing. I'm staying in until I get what the hell I walked into this conviction on this play is to get out of. I already told everybody what my perspective on this play, that with the no, I know how I'm going to deal with this. And with the yes, there's still, in my humble opinion, operations where we could easily break the all-time high that we had, even with the yes. And please remember exactly these statements that I'm saying here, so that when the shills come at me in full force in the near future or in the future, you can be my backbone and my support, as I'm always yours. And when we break out of this, whether yes or no, I'm going to be holding in here. And I know that whether yes or no, this will be broken right there. This is my personal opinion. It's not financial advice, but that will be broken, because that's what I don't only go off of technical analysis, but certain things you just have to. Once you break out of a bull flag formation, or AKA also you can call it a descending wedge, you always go to the upside, and it's always breaking the all-time high. Ants Trade is right about that statement. I'm telling you straight up, guys, whether yes or no, this is going to do its thing. The reason of why I personally think this vote is taking place is because if it goes through as a yes, it does form a national security threat. It's the only way that they can limit the blow or the damage that is coming because of this play. It's the only way the other side can do it. You got billions and billions of shares that got to be dealt with, and people that are going to hold for dear life. So therefore, they need a way around it. And when people are holding and they're not letting go of billions of shares until the numbers are astronomical, you do the math. Who's going to pay 10 or 15 trillion dollars from where? The whole nation doesn't have that money on hand like this to pay for one play. So if the yes goes through, and it's most likely looking like it will go through, it's not the end of the world. I know that at worst case scenario, I got this in the bank. And this is my humble opinion. I know that this is in the bank. And by the way, it is changed to that 44.61 because of the split. So when that goes back in, the charts will change and you will see what the new all-time high will be. So technically right now, the all-time high is 44.61 because of the split between AMC and APE. Sorry, guys. What's up, everybody? What's up, Scavenger? How are you? Nice to see you in here, brother. It's good to see all the family and all the community in here, as we are all one family. 1796 Patriot, how are you? Good day to you too as well. Tyler B, hey, much love, brother. Scott Delati, thank you. I'm killing it because of you guys. You know, I put a post over here. Don't fear. Let's see if I can show it. Guys, there is times where I don't sleep for the past week at all to go through some of this stuff. And then what I get in return most of the times is people come out to me and say, hey, you're doing for views. Hey, you're a shill. You're this and you're that. And it's like, really? I'm doing no sleep and like this. And my woman will say, like, she will speak on this. Look, this is how I view you guys. Look at this caption. Fear not what is before you, for those that care are behind you. I look at you guys as this right here. And this is me. That's how I feel about you guys, about the community. And that's how I feel like each single one of us should feel that they are this and the rest of the community is this. That's how we get across the finish line together. That's how nobody can fucking fuck with us. Sorry for swearing again. This is how I see you guys. This is what we are to each other. So in the next week or two, guys, we're looking at this thing to possibly be, after this mega top confirmation on the 10th, that we would most likely be in a downward trend, and most likely they will try to get us into the threes and perhaps, for sure, perhaps the twos. And don't think that the play is over. The shills are going to come out in fucking full force. They're going to look at me. Now it's contagious. Now I'm swearing left and right. I apologize to everybody in the stream and the family. Sorry, it's also the lack of sleep. Shills are going to come out in full force. All the seeking alphas, all those motley fools are going to come out in full force to try to say, look, Gasparino or Rano or Tino, whatever, I don't even fucking know his name. Oh my God. They're all going to come out in full force, specifically in those times. They all are going to try to do that. I am preparing you for what is coming so that you do not fall victim to the punch that you don't see coming. Instead, you've seen it coming and you know what the hell is happening. The outlook on the near term and the near future, at least for the next upcoming 2 weeks, looks extremely for 1 to 2 weeks very bearish, and they could tap us into the obviously the threes, and they could most likely tap us into the twos. And if they do, that's no problem. Again, for me, it's no problem because I see it coming. They have to. I see all this. I just explained all that stuff to you guys. Look, where else are we going to go? They could take us down here, but what else? The next rip, where do we have to? They have to make sure that we do not go over what? $7? They're constricted. We could be in a consolidation zone here, even after the vote. If they use the vote against us to break the ranks of the community, even if many people get out. I know this thing is overly manipulated so fucking much to the point where I at least humbly, and this is just my personal opinion, can get at least this out of it. And I plan accordingly for this. So if that happens and that's the way that it gotta be and it works out, that I can get at least a new all-time high, and I will set up my play and my finances based on that if the yes obviously goes through, because it does change the complete dynamics of cost to borrow and everything. And I understand on the other side, they need that to happen in order for this thing to not delete the country off the face of the planet financially. But if it doesn't go through, then oh my freaking, like if the no goes through, and again, that's a very light chance because again, there's no money printer in the world right now that can pay for this play alone, that can pay for the amount of damage that's done on this play, for the years and the amount of time that is done on this play. There's no, if the no goes through, there's no way. They have no shares. The only way they can get access to shares is not even through AMC and through nothing else. And all what the institutes have, like Vanguard and whatnot, is all on freaking loan out already. They already lent over 90% of their shares for to shorts, whether on GME or AMC already. And there's data out there that proves that. So that's literally like, that's a leftover fry in the bag, the amount of shares they have, as humongous as their position seem. And again, that's my freaking humble opinion. So if that node goes through, there's no way anything can print money to deal with this. There's no way. So they need this, yes, and they're doing everything possible. That's why you see the loosening of the 8K filing restrictions. That's why you see this. That's why you see the new, we can issue after the yes up to 400 and something million shares on the side that we can issue afterwards. So that when the hedge funds come all in a row, stand in line and say, we're ready to cover this, they don't have to go through us. If it's a no, guys, just remember, this is the most common sense thing. If it's a no and it goes through, they will only have to come through retail to cover their positions. What does retail do? Hold for astronomical crazy numbers, because I know all of us, we're all greedy bastards, and rightfully so. We deserve all that and more. But there's no printing money machine out there that can print the amount just for this play alone, rather than the rest of the market, because the market makers, freaking brokers, the fucking banks, have corrupted entirely throughout the whole market. It's not just an AMC thing. We're maybe the most corrupted play, but they've corrupted the entire market. There's much that is screwed, and that's how they siphon out. As I showed you guys before the vampire octopus, the picture, that's how they get their money out. I'll show you again. Here, we'll try to load it up. This. You guys see how this is the federal, you see how like the Federal Reserve is on top of this? This was made back in 1910. So I just want everybody to know this. They were going against the creation of central banks, or AKA the federal bank agencies that created the 15, 16 banks all around the country, that basically this is what the Feds does. They were against it, and it's happening today. We see it. It's connected to everything. Here's the White House. Here's the US Capitol. Here's everything. It's connected to all of this stuff. And the stock market, look, this was drawn back in 1912, guys. Over 100 years ago. is how they siphon all that wealth and change it extra. So for the last 2-3 years, it's been nothing. And you see it in the repo and reverse repo operations. Over $2 trillion on a daily base. The numbers is there. The proof is in the pudding, and it's right in front of all of you. And it's only out there for the people that truly want to push aside all the narratives, all the biased opinions, all the overly hopium or overly depression case scenarios, and just look for the face value. This is what's happening. There's no money printing machine that can print anything if the no was to go through, because they would have no way to get any real shares from anywhere except through us. And that's why they need this yes, because it will change most of the dynamics. It will change the float. It will change the access. Once you combine and do the reverse stock split, they need all that stuff. I mean, it's very articulated on their end to make it seem like it's all has to do with fundamentals. The company needs fundamentals. But where's the fundamentals of the stock? If it's been overbought, why is the market capitalization not where it should be? Well, maybe because the market maker is not delivering assets as well, or purchasing them. Again, all this is articulated to ultimately end this 3-year thing the way that they can reach the sweet spot between us and them. And they need this yes, because once they end the reverse stock split and the conversion, because the float also changes down to 140. And by the time they issue and get over and done with the 400 million extra shares that they can, and they don't have to issue all of them. They could just start issuing some. That shows me that when hedge funds are ready to cover, now they're comfortable to cover, because they're not afraid that if they start covering, they can't find shares on the block and they're all going to get margin to oblivion, because shareholders are not selling. We're not selling. And that's what we're going to do. They know that. They know that we're not fucking around. We've been holding for over 2.5 years. They know we're not fucking around. And they know that not to take us stupid. Don't let this media that they push out there confuse you and make you think that they're just, oh yeah, they're overlooking us. No, they know what we're about. They know we're about business. They know that we're not joking when we're talking about crazy numbers. And that's why all this stuff is happening the way it is, the way that it is. Now they will have access to shorts to cover. They will have access to shares that they can get, not necessarily just through us. They still have to come through us, but not all their short covering has to be done through us. They can get some from AMC. They could get some from other institutes after the yes vote goes through. And in the meantime, you hit 2 birds with 1 stone. The company fixes its financials, the shorts cover, and then the stock investors or the retail finally get what they want. Is it the hypothetically speaking, the 10K and 20K a share and all that stuff? While that was possible, that yes will make sure that that's not the case. Again, it's not financial advice. This is my humble opinion, and I made my case over and over and over again. And I hopefully I got through to everybody. I'm going to read some of the comments before I let everybody go. I know it's 5 o'clock. It's inching closer to that Super Bowl. I want everybody to be safe, guys. I swear. And everybody to have the best of lives that they possibly could have. Turtle Creek, AMC yet moving? Almost there, my friend. Almost there. Thank you, Tyler B. Bob Loco, what's up, brother? One of the OGs in here. Mrs. Chase, stop apologizing, maybe. I have to apologize. Otherwise, it becomes a trend. I become that individual that will swear nonstop. That's not something I want to see in my future kids, or something I would like to see them doing, you know? So it's just a reflection of what I want and what I don't want. Appreciate it. Tyler B. Nana Ape, try and have dry powder and get prepared. There you go. And right there, guys, I'm preparing you for that. Right there. This is your chance right here. It's not going to be probably also for long. Right there. Maybe a few weeks tops. The Fed shouldn't even exist. Yeah, they shouldn't. They tried to fight it back in 1912, but it went through. You can thank JP Morgan as one of the main co-conspirators of that whole thing. Mr. McCowan, what's up, my friend? Thank you for your service. As I always promise to always say it, because you did put your own life on the line to protect the rest of us and to offer us or prepare for us this life that we have right now in this great nation. So much love to you, brother. Thank you, sir. And Tyler B, gonna be heartbroken when my share count gets reduced from 2,500 to 500. But I can't sell at this point. Being held hostage, it's all good. Our day will come. Yes, and that's the thing. I want to also, one of the last few moments or points that I want to bring out is, guys, what other option do you have? Like, do you get out at a loss? Right now, AMC at the valuation that we're at 490, and perhaps a little bit lower in the next couple weeks, as I laid out to everybody. You're not over 95% of the community is in the red already at this evaluation. So when people say I want to sell right here, you're basically saying I'm cutting my losses. If that works for you, again, I'm not a financial advisor. Nobody can tell you what you should and what you shouldn't do with your investment and your money. But you got to weigh out your narratives and what your options are. Okay, you want a no. I want a no. He wants a yes. She wants a yes. We vote. That's the way of the American life. Whatever the vote outcome is, we got to all be cool with it. If the yes goes through, I'm a fucking AMC investor since September 2020. I don't need anybody to come and tell me, oh, you're this or you're that. I know what the fuck kind of customer I am. Sorry again. I'm going to constantly keep apologizing. So either way, the votes go through, I'm still an investor. I'm still an AMC. It's not a no, no problem. I laid out my foundation and my plan on according to how everything adjusts and how everything plays out. Whether yes or whether no, AMC, I made my conviction long ago, and I'm going to continue to go through with it until I get to my objective. What is the objective? It's always changing, and I'm going to keep updating you guys this upcoming week, how this trend is happening. I'm going to keep updating you guys. The outlook right now, based on the transactions and this, for example, Megatop channel that we just broke into, basically, we're going to be looking at the $3 zone that they will bring us into perhaps this week or within this next week or two. And then maybe, just maybe, they could possibly bring us into the top twos. And that's not anything to be afraid of or anything, because I see it coming. If you're prepared for it, it's not going to phase you out. And then we could be ready for ultimately the big boy move when it happens, because all these shorts want to end this nightmare. The whole entire stock market has been held hostage. Everything. So all that is going to happen. It's going to be massive rallies all throughout the market, here and there, fires in the market makers' homes and shit. And then it's going to be all followed by what I ultimately think is going to be the recession of all stocks. And that will remain to be seen. Again, at that point, I don't even care. After this plays over, I don't care what happens with the stock market. Not that I'm going to be out of it. I'm a day trader as well. So I'm going to be, once this thing starts taking off, I'm going to go ahead and load up on my puts on many plays, because I already know that all this, what goes up must come down. So even if it's on AMC, I'm not done. If I got my money on the way up, I'm going to get more money on the way down. I'm going to make them pay for every penny every day they made me wait for the past almost 3 years. Best fucking believe. Which also would bring up the question. People are talking about, hey, AB, you were talking about smart money and how they leverage their positions. You want to get into that? I can freaking get into that with you. They get a position of shares, and based on your shares, you leverage your position in whether calls or puts to make sure that if either happens, you're not screwed. And they do that in a very simple equation. Every share you get is like a +1. Think of it that way. To leverage that share, that's where they have the put equation. So basically, if you got, let's say, 1,000 shares, hypothetically speaking, I'm not trying to get people to say, go watch, shills are going to come out on AB full force and AB say, go buy options and all that stuff. If the community knows how, if the whole community knows how to play options correctly, the other side would be screwed. I'm just letting you guys know all that because it's part of the play. People just got the wrong impression about options in general, even puts as well. Completely the wrong impression. But if you have 1,000 shares and you want to leverage your position, you want to think like smart money, you want to leverage your position to make sure that you don't get effed on those 1,000 shares. After you buy those 1,000 shares, you would also perhaps go ahead and buy some calls and buy some puts. But the puts, if you got 1,000, that's a plus 1,000, which is equivalent to what? 100 put options. Once you get 100 put options, technically, if the price was to go down, what you make on your puts without leverage, whatever you lose on the price, the share price on your 1,000 shares when it starts going down. So there's ways only you would know what your position is and what you need to leverage with. And plus, if you want to have obviously a great payout, look, you can't just leverage this exactly the same as that. So what most smart money does is they would, let's say if they had 1,000 shares, they would get about perhaps 50 puts, which is half of their position being leveraged with this. So in case the price drops, half of that could equal, because 50 options multiplied, each option is 100 shares. 50 options multiplied by 100, that's basically 5,000, 500 shares. So when you that leverage is right there, your calls, I'm sorry, the numbers are all clicking. You get the point, guys. So 100 shares are one put or one call. And if you have 1,000 shares, that's equivalent to 100, 10 here. Sorry, I no sleep, guys, I swear. So that means you got a 10 puts, sorry, just so I can fix it all out. So 1,000 shares, to leverage that to the downside, and if you feel like you're seeing it going down and you're losing out of your 1,000 shares, like costs and your investment so far, they leverage it with up to 10 puts. 10 puts is equivalent when you multiply each one by 100, because that's what is inside of a call option or a put option or a long, because there's other stuff like short calls, short puts. There's long calls and long puts. But anyways, just the face value here. The long puts, they would get 10. If they have 1,000, they would probably get 5. Those 5 are equivalent to 500 shares. So if the price dropped, then you got half of your losses on the drop of your shares is being made up on your puts. You see how this is how smart money basically leverages themselves and makes money. And that's what made it so mind-boggling for me, now that I'm saying all this to you, to see Bank of America get 2.3 million calls plus and get 300,000 puts and only 139,000 shares. What are they leveraging? They're not leveraging their shares. That's freaking insider trading like no tomorrow. 100%. And that's not financial advice, or it's just my opinion. You're right, Tendy Lion. You would stop apologizing if you're gonna keep cursing. You know, if you Tendy Lion, I don't think you're part of the community for long. This is a rare occasion. Like I don't curse in my videos and in my lives. I don't know. I think I'm overly passionate on a Sunday. And again, no sleep for the past perhaps week or so. Many of you know in here. So I have some family members in here that I interact with all the time. Um, it's been like nonstop, and on top of that, I get people that will come and say, "Oh, you this and you that and all this." It's like I'm one of you. I'm doing this for me and you. Like so. With all that being said, let me read a few more things. Gary Plagioni, do you think the good time to buy in now at these prices? No, I think it's going to go down more. If you, Gary, please rewatch this live. Maybe you can put it on a playback speed that's faster if you don't want to stick through the whole thing. Again, it's your own discretion. But rewatch this live, and you will understand what I like. That question, you'll understand it through this. I answer that question basically in this live. Thank you, Dandelion. I appreciate you, brother. That's all I need. I swear. You guys backing me up. I don't need nothing. I walk with God and I rally around my community and my family. I can't wait for that moment where I swear to God, I will be on live watching it doing its thing. I see it. It's gonna happen, folks. It's gonna happen. And I swear I'll be crying on live. Like I can almost feel it because I'm a very emotional person, not a bad emotional where like I always talk about how you balance out your like everything, not just overly hyped or overly depressed, balance out things. But when things go out of proportion, you guys only imagine. Again, I've been in this from September 2020. You would only imagine. I know your pain. I swear to God, I know your pain, guys, of holding. And every day we get back to this every week. And we go through so much mangling and sometimes pumps here, 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 and here. And then it ends up with this dump and everything. And I've in this live right here, at least, and even 6 months ago, I laid out the same, I swear, talk. I called it here. 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 And go back in time and fact check it. The family's in here. You put me on the spot. Don't just because you're watching AB say that. Look, call it out with the time and the date where I was wrong in any of these call outs and these numbers right here, in these rips. No one knows when exactly it's going to go, but one thing for sure is when we break certain resistance levels, then you can get overly high. And that's when my emotions are going to overtake my sense of feelings. Like, of course, I'm going to carry on with my plan. Of course, I'm going to do my thing as the blueprint that I drew for how my exit strategy is going to be. But my emotions are also going to overtake me completely. It's gonna be a moment that I can't wait. I see it happening. I feel it. I know it's coming. Not financial advice, just me, my own thing. I just can't wait for that moment to happen. Mr. McCowan, right? The most you ever heard me cuss in 2 years. Records are made to be broken. DJ Shorty, how, in your opinion, how high will AMC go if reverse goes through? No financial advice. There's no telling, brother. Sky's the limit. And again, and here's how. This is why no one can tell you that number except the shorts. Here's why. Or even then, they can't. Two things. One, you have to put in perspective. How many shares must be covered? Do any of us know? The only access that we have is to the numbers that we get from Ortex, the short interest that we got, and the float amount that is shorted, which is a little bit over 20%. That's the only thing. But most of us don't believe that to be the exact numbers. So based on that, how many more do we add? Some people say there's 5 billion out there. Some people say there's 10x floats, 10 billion. There's 15 billion, whatever, 50 billion, whatever. How do we know how many is out there? Unless we have those numbers, it's very impossible to gauge what exactly could be the top or what this thing can go to. That's the number one. Now, the number two in this equation is the general public or the hodlers' general sentiment and where they sell at. How do you know, like, where Tendyline, I'm just going to use you for an example, so no pun intended, brother. What number will he sell at in the run-up? How do you know where Miss Chase will sell in the run-up? How do you know where Mr. McCown will sell at? How do you know where Gary will sell at? How do you know AB or Jam Bams, Adrian, Shirley? How would any of these people, how would you know where all the community will sell at what point? How would we know where you would sell at? We all tell each other that's possible, but again, look at it. We got about millions of people, and in the same time, do people really believe people? That person could be a shill. You don't know that. So ultimately, what I'm trying to get to is it's impossible for anybody to come out and tell you exactly what we were ripped to. Giving you an honest answer, telling you we were ripped to this, they're a freaking liar. Whoever it is, whoever it is, and you can bring them on to me, or you can remember what I answered as this and direct it to them. Tell them based on how many shares do you give that number. If somebody gives you saying we're going to run to this number, a particular number, or how high, just tell them based on how many shares and based on what else. Forget the run-ups. I know that most of the people that will give out price targets are the people that measure the wavelengths between on the technical analysis part, where they would say, hey, look at this wave. It was much longer. And then the next rip will have to be longer than this wave right here. While that's somewhat true, but you don't know the end of that wave, which ultimately means they don't know when or how high the thing can go. So instead of anybody trying to play Sherlock Holmes and any family member in the community, tell them this, like, hey, based on how many shares do you make those allegations, or you make this numbers up that we're going to run hypothetically to 2,000? Based on what? That's the first question you'll say. If they start pulling waves and all this stuff, but how do you know where is the top? Oh, the wave is going to be a little bit bigger than that wave. Oh, a little bit does not tell you still exactly. So how do you give me an exact answer or an exact number, but not give me an exact TA or an exact calculation? Hopefully that makes sense, brother. Like, ultimately, no one can tell you. The best way to go through with it is, as I said in the beginning of this live, set out your exit strategy and that blueprint that how you can exit. And that exit strategy is mainly made, or should be made, around your own conditions. What you can handle and what you can't. Where do you need to be? What is in the background? What is your finances? What is your situation in life? Everybody's is different. What is your position? All those things play out a big role. Give that due diligence to your own investment. You owe it to yourself, people. Do that and stop worrying about the top, because that's going to be a loser's game. That's going to be a bag holder's game of to try. And I'm not saying this to you, and particularly you, DJ Shorty. I'm saying this like in general to everybody, that timing the top would be a bag holder's play. Literally a bag holder's game. Thank you, brother. Hey, there's Jeffrey. I caught you before the Super Bowl. Gorilla Grodd, look at you. You remember the first time, Gorilla Grodd, I see you? The first time I seen your name, I knew that it was from The Flash. I gave you some of the references about it. So it will always stick with me how the telepathic abilities that you could do, So now you're getting me pumped up with this 100K a share, telepathically. GG 500K, damn, babe. You too? Nana 8, there we go. Tyler B, sorry, I just saw that question. A quick rundown or TA on Lucid. Honestly, brother, I don't have it in me. I will be doing it this week because I did promise in a video that I was going to be looking. I told everybody in the community that my play to venture into, like the day trade play for next week, is going to be Lucid. I told that to people last week. I'm pretty sure you're probably asking because of that, because their earnings come out on the 22nd, and major players or smart money or market makers make their moves ahead of time so that when the news come out, whoever is coming in for a bag holding opportunity. You know what I'm saying? So you always want to get in ahead of the crowd so that you'll be on the good basis before anything. So I'll be doing that this week to see how the market opens. So possibly somewhere around Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe toward the end of the week. I will look at that and I'll put out some updates. Make sure to remind me of it. Look, now they're calling me for the Super Bowl, everybody. Have a great weekend, Jeffrey. Yeah, Mr. McCohen. Colin S., what's up, brother? Smith from the Matrix. Thank you. It means the world to me to hear that. I swear, it means the world to me to hear that. Adrian, the Chiefs got this. No, I want the Eagles to win this. I know you guys don't want the Eagles because you guys are Dallas Cowboys fans, but I want the Eagles, and I think they got it for the Eagles, unless they want to give it to the poster child of the NFL, which is Mahomes. You can't deny the fact that he truly deserves the MVP unanimously this year. Yes, Tyler B. Please share it into our into the channel or in the comment section as we go, or even in the Discord. Share these. If you find anything, always feed the family. Go out there. We're all gonna be like, we're all family members that are gonna go out there as apes, and we're supposed to be bringing back to the family so that we can be the planet of the apes. You mean the chefs? Well, with that being said, I wish all of you a very merry, happy rest of your Sunday. Hopefully, I did not waste any of your time. For anybody who benefited tonight or today from this stream, I am that sends me over the clouds. Much love to all of you people. Like literally, I have nothing but love for all of you people, and I can't wait to see what these updates of this week. I'll keep updating you guys based on this narrative that I told you back here and what will happen. um, I will keep updating you guys, and I will show you exactly, hey, if something changed, if we break out of that trend and all that, where do we bottom at? But like I said again, do not be surprised they send us back. In fact, I see them sending us back to into the threes, and perhaps if they get a little bit more aggressive, overly, I guess, in the twos. But it's not something that I don't expect. It's a good loading opportunity for me. I'm not going to give any financial advice, and eventually, uh, we're going to see how it all plays out or pans out, even leading up or after the split. I will constantly keep updating you guys, like I said, day to day, as the charts keep moving, as the price action keeps moving, based on the sentiment of the trades, people buying and selling, and institutes, market makers. And based on that, I will keep you guys posted to see anything that breaks out. Again, you just walked in, go back through the live at whatever play speed you want, and see what case that I made literally over 6 months ago, and it's still all these points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've called all these, and now we're here. And I called this one just this last week. I told everyone we need to break the 8. We were halted at 733. Well, due to the 8K filing that got out and the selling of 8, we didn't break 8, and you saw what's happening now. So don't let this discourage you. I made my case in this live stream once again to everybody and how it all, in my humble opinion, will play out. Much love to all of you people, lovely people. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Be with your family. Enjoy your life. And I'll see you guys on the battleground tomorrow, against these hedgies. I almost cussed again. Much love. AB Investments.